Yeah, we're in living color today.
You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning.
Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
Your papers, please.
Thank you, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We don't usually, you don't usually see this show in living color the way it is right now. I have to make some adjustments here, actually. Not to that, but to some of the other things. Camera 2. Anyway, how you doing? Like I said, I thought I'd put on some light. Let you see what I look like. We got the green phone, the hotline to Dublin. This is St. Patrick's week, you know, the way I look at it. Any of you who remember last year, it was insane. I'm either going up to the Coney, my former favorite Irish pub that I haven't really spent a St. Paddy's Day at in a long time, or I'm going to do another St. Patrick's Day right here, you know, on the premises. So we'll just have to see what we end up doing. But I don't know. I'm looking for my daily photo, and that's the one thing I do not want to see. So I just wanted to remind you that, speaking of St. Patrick's Day, we have here we go. We have free shipping on our shirts. Okay? So I'm not going to really push that issue, but free shipping on all of our gear. All right, from the 17th through the 22nd. All right, and I'll plop that up from time to time. All right, but I won't overstate it. What I wanted to do first, though, is something I haven't done in a long time, and that is
the Weather Watch forecast.
Yeah, because we've got some crazy stuff going on here, and there's a major storm coming through up from the south. As south as Texas, and it's working its way up in a line. And if you look at that blue, if you look at the blue, not so much the blue down in Mexico, but if you look at the blue and then that line of clouds above it that are heading up north, this is the storm that's setting up. And actually people are going to be receiving snow today, might already be getting snow down in some of those southern areas. And it's going to work its way up straight through to Sweet Home Chicago, like they said in the Blues Brothers. Been to Chicago several times, not my home, but it was nice at one point. I used to go to the Blues and then the Navy Pier and all that stuff. I had some fun times. Anyway, that line of what looks like a southerly flow up to the northeast is going to continue on that path and apparently work its way eastward at the same angle, bringing a lot of snow and rain and storms and winds to all those areas in its path. And again, imagine it at that angle. And you can see down in the Carolinas and the Southeast, you're going to have some very unsettled weather, but probably more likely to be just windy and stormy and rainy and that type of thing. Though you may see snow. We may see snow all the way, down Alabama, down towards the Gulf Coast. Florida's going to be a mess, they're saying, by tomorrow. So anyway, and places like Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, West Virginia, and then working its way up into the north. In some places, you're just talking a couple inches of snow. In other places, you're talking, upwards of 8 inches to maybe even getting close to a foot of snow as you get up into the northern parts and the high elevations. So I just thought this was worthwhile bringing out. I haven't done this in a while, but why not? It's one of those things. Maybe it was just time to do it again, and after all, it's
Weekend weather.
it's the weekend weather. So thought I'd just
Your papers, please.
what are you doing? Anyway, I'm going to get out of this. I kind of made a mess of things. If you saw today's title card, I have some cutouts from my book, The Handbook. And The Handbook was a time, it was like midway through my writing. Yeah, I wrote 10, officially 10 books, but one could say 11 or 12, since my first book was a very, like kind of a library binding type of book. And the other ones were, the other one was like a digital only book. And somehow I combined the first and the first library binding and sorry for messing with the microphone. I combined those two books, and the content from those made it into the 10 official books that, that we see today. Well, I don't even have to go back there. If I just take, if I just take this title card out and show you. So you have Then What, which you're seeing in living color, and of course Codex back here, which you're seeing. And there's the game overhead. Because today I'm not sponsored by Coors Light, but it's got a shamrock on it. And I just thought I would go green. I got my green, I don't know if you can tell it's a green shirt. And we got the green hotline to Dublin. And that's about it. And so, yeah. And so for those of you who may want to, want a copy of these, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you, this is a larger version of those cutouts that you can turn. If you have a button maker, you could turn those into buttons, or just cut them out and stick them with some double-sided tape or, double-sided duct tape and put it on your clothes, and if you have a color printer or if you have Photoshop or something, you could, make them a color, tint them if you wanted to. But yeah, you just make a screen capture and there you go. And then you've got it. And it's like the quality of these things aren't the greatest, but I don't think they can give me a copyright strike for like 6 or 7 seconds. And I know those volumes are low, but what can I say?
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. We're broadcasting this show in living color, and we're giving people some cutouts that have to do with like peace and make love, not war, flower power, and the good old-fashioned peace symbol from back in the day. And it's like, I don't know. Why not? Because nobody else seems to be like getting it. And I don't understand. So there's the title card, which has the very same things on it, just smaller versions. And if you want the large ones, if you missed that, just rewind, pause, and hit your screen capture and print them out, put them in a program. You can enlarge them or print them out on a page and take them to your work carrel and put them on your office. I mean, it's time people stop jingoism and stop like pushing war. Who cares who, in other words, like I said yesterday, if somebody started a thing, I've got this coconut almond, it's not milk because it's a non-dairy product. And I reheated my coffee because it took so long to get those 2 clip sound bites. And I'm really angry at Locals. They like ripped me off for like, I was on Locals for a while and I canceled. And they sent me back I said, hey, they just took money out of my PayPal account. And then they said, oh, well, you must have signed up through the iOS or something like that. I don't use iOS. Locals on iOS, or Android. I pay $39 or $4 plus tax a year for cell phone service. I know this might be shocking to some of you seeing me in actually living color with the lights on, but I just thought I would do it. And it's actually not even full light here. This is just some dim light. It's 4:31 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, the 11th of March in the calendar year 2021. This is what I look like in real life in the daytime. And this is the beginning of a week-long St. Patrick's Day celebration. So, sow the green. But it's also, on a more serious note, peace. Have a drink of Guinness or have it, or a green beer of any kind, whatever your pleasure is. But just for crying out loud, this war, this idea of war, fighting, and everyone, armchair generals and all this craziness, it's just not, is that who we really are? Enough is enough. There's no reason to fight. We've been so brainwashed because we've had this history of war that we think, it's like, it's cool, it's tough, and, I'm the first guy to talk about the world being a dangerous place and socioeconomic geopolitics and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is, there are other ways, all right? There are other ways, and there are ways of exercising our power. But one of them isn't conventional warfare, the killing of innocent people or innocent soldiers, because the soldiers are just cannon fodder for the generals and the presidents and their cabinets and their defense secretaries and all those kind of clowns who don't get near any kind of dangerous things, who like basically ride around in their bulletproof vehicles and have security people around them, and right, and more or less live in bunkers. It's like I say, send them out. Anybody involved in any kind of declaration of war or saying, or raising their hand in a meeting and saying yes, they should be out there, right? I know this sounds foreign and it's probably a turnoff for a lot of people, right? A lot of, some people think patriotism means you've got to kill the Ruskies or you got to kill somebody. That's not patriotism. That's murder. All right? We have to denuclearize. Like I said, it's like the people today who are out protesting on the street. They're all triggered by something. I made a big issue of that yesterday. They're triggered by somebody calling them some kind of name or something, right? Or not identifying them properly. But, you don't see them out on the streets protesting for peace. I notice everywhere I go to all these sites and it's like donate money for what? It's like, no, why don't you just end the thing? You see, donating money is feeding right into the war profiteers. In fact, there are people that some of that money goes, war profiteers are involved in the aid business too. Oh, shocking. How dare you say that? 100%. Don't give me that crap. 100%. What about the flights over there? What about the people involved? You think everybody's working for free? You think that stuff usually gets to the places it usually goes? You don't think that there's the classic organized crime elements? And Ukraine is full of that. Ukraine is full of organized crime. All right? Do you think that there's not going, you send over billions of dollars, you don't think they're going to shave off a couple of billion is going to go in the hands of basically criminals? Why did you do that? Why'd you do that? Why didn't you just use that money to put together a conference, a meeting? Do you know all the sides have agreed on peace terms right now? Did you know that? The president, Zelensky, he's agreed. He's changed his opinion on NATO expansion. That was Putin's main problem. All right? And he's also agreed to talk about the separatists on the east. That's it. End of story. It's over. Just get those guys together in some neutral territory and have them sign the papers, pass it over, sign them again, and have somebody overlook it, and that's that. And fuck NATO. And fuck the military-industrial complex. Why don't you have the military-industrial complex, the military contractors, they've got all these manufacturing plants. Why don't they retool and get them to work on alternative energy and building back America, fixing bridges and stuff? Because that's always the big excuse. Well, this keeps jobs in America. Okay, retool the factories. When you wanted people to wear the face diaper things, you basically took a factory that was making some kind of cloth thing or some kind of whatever, and they basically were set up with such and such of equipment, machinery. And so you retooled it. You made some adjustments. Half these companies have their own in-house machine shops. Okay, you sit there with your engineers and you replace a few pieces of equipment, right? So that you could, instead of plopping out a certain kind of weapon of war that's going to kill innocent people, right? Or soldiers on the other side, because you have to understand, it's not the soldiers on either side that are the guilty parties. They're following orders, commands. They don't have the flexibility, particularly, in certain countries, unlike the U.S. In other words, it's like, you do the order. Otherwise, their superior just takes a bullet and a bullet to their head. Okay, anybody else want to decide they don't want to go forward? Right? And everybody steps in line. That's socioeconomic geopolitics. That's the real way the world works. So I'm not talking, you want jobs? Tell the military-industrial complex, okay, we've had enough. You're not making weapons anymore. Here's what you're doing, right? You're going to make girders. You're going to use your metalworks and all those things that create these, and you're going to airlift these things, these girders, to various key positions around the country, so we can shore up these bridges, right? Personally, I'd have them also use their choppers and stuff to just start taking down these windmills. You see the horror stories of how many windmills fail and how dangerous they are, and these blades shooting all over the place and these things catching on fire, and the poles themselves just like bending over in half. Not to mention that half of them are like starting to reach their like life expectancy, they're almost ready to just die anyway. And we don't have nearly enough people to repair and refurbish these things. And even if we did, it would take the amount of fossil fuel for the cranes and the vehicles to get people up that high and to move this stuff and then to transport it across the U.S. People have no frickin' idea. I wish I was drinking a Guinness right now. Yesterday, I had such an overwhelming desire to just, drink. But it's that season, It's like people, I think I don't know if I have that, in my, let's see. It's hard to say, because I just was thinking, just hang with me. I'm trying to look back through some of my old sound effects for a couple of things that I may or may not have gotten rid of. I probably did. Yeah, I don't know. I got it. Hold on a second. Hang in there. Yeah, we need more of this.
Hi, this is Casa on the Toyo OU expedition. We've, in less than a week, left Kathmandu, experienced the craziness of the crossing of the Chinese border. We've gone from low jungle waterfall lands up into the high Tibetan plateau. We're sitting in the desert now and looking at a blue sky day. The team's doing great, and we'll keep you updated. Thanks, bye.
That's the stuff I used to do, Why don't you want adventure? Go do some of those. There's places in this earth to explore and so many things to see. Outrageous stuff,
And I want my favorite DJ to give everybody the word. Who's on the turntables tonight, my son?
It's your buddy Tony Caravan, Wolfman. I'm here, and yes, it is a
weekend.
We're going to have some fun today.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Anyway, so yeah, I just had to get that out there, So now you know what the weather's like. I mean, we could look at that one more time. It's going to be for pretty much the north. The whole eastern part of the United States at some point, pretty much so, is going to experience some real serious winter weather, And, it's the 11th of March, and it's going to be the 12th into the 13th. So we're talking about, middle of March. March comes in like a lion, out like a lamb. I hope that, that's another one of these lies that is, has been exposed. This climate thing. Because it's like the past couple of years, all the records point to a whole different scenario weather-wise. I mean, everything has to do, first of all, the climate is primarily, pushed by the sun as far as temperature and magnetic fields. We have weakening magnetic fields. I talk about it all the time. But geez, I tell you. So, yeah, make love, not war, Do people know how to make love? There were talks about people over in England. I mean, people were like making love with a mask on. Do you understand the absurdity of that? Like how idiotic that is? It doesn't even, have people really lost their minds that much? That they've resorted to that. They've gotten to that level. You're crazy. You're crazy. So, yeah. Cut out these things, Like I say, rewind and go back to where I have the full ones on the screen, and you can make a screen capture. Or you can buy my book handbook. But that's when I kind of, like I said, I went through many different stages, like most people. It's okay that, you may have leaned to the right or leaned to the left, or whatever. Some people, there was a time when I was like a pure, almost a libertarian purist. But there were times when I was like leaned far left, not like far left, like in, the commie thing, it wasn't one of these deals.
I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy.
That kind of thing. I wasn't that way. And the same with the right. I wasn't pushing, like I said, I was more of, this.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
Right, exactly. That's all I'm saying. Give peace a chance. Sit down and give peace a chance. Why do people have to die over this stuff? This is a very old issue. It goes back. This goes back through the Obama administration is when this first came to public light. Biden was the point man. This thing could have ended a long time ago, and the war-profiteers just didn't allow it to happen. They were making too much money on it, from oil, pipelines, and weaponry, like they're doing now. And all this money being sent over there. Come on, we're talking building. What, they send $13.6 billion they're going to send over there? All right? That's money you wait, you get the peace treaty signed, the withdrawal of the troops, everybody's happy, so to speak. Then you send the $13.6 billion over with engineers and earmarked and repair those buildings, hospitals, and whatever else that, was destroyed in the fray, the craziness, madness. I'm all for that. I'll tell you, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's just kind of weird having it this bright this time of day. It's 4:47. It kind of like plays with your, your brain a little. But what can I say? I have to give my cat. I'm going to take this thing down a second. The title card. I have to give my cat a little thing in between its, the scruff of its neck to make sure it's probably overkill because they didn't detect any worms, but it's like a thing to prevent them from having worms. I don't know if he's going to like that. And the other thing I've got to find, and I'm not pushing this brand, but I need to get some advanced silicone window and door. This is like, what the key of this is? Forget the name on there. It's that 100% waterproof. You see that? 100% waterproof silicone. This is hard stuff to buy. And it's expensive. You get a tiny tube like this. I don't know. I think it's like $12 or something like that. I hate spending all of my hard-earned money, on things up there. It's still leaking, and I have no idea where the leak is. And there wasn't even... Above my bedroom, there wasn't anything even going into the, the bins. That's the weird part. So like the water, and underneath, I was like putting my hand underneath the bins that usually collect the rain that like would come through the roof or whatever. And it's dry. And I'm like, what the, right? My guitar is blocking Mr. Bear. Let's move him back. There. Well, kind of. How do we get that over there? So you can see his shirt says, "You don't know what you don't know," if you look really closely. If you're watching this on TV, there's a vehicle. So anyway, this Sunday we set the clocks ahead, spring ahead, fall behind. So we're basically a little over a week away from the first day of spring, and we're going to have like this major snowstorm. But if it's like last year, we've had snow and frost into May. And this is I'm in the mid-Atlantic states, so it's like, it's just, there are so many lies that we're being fed, and deceptions. It's lies and deceptions. And it's the internet, and they're propagated not so much. I mean, they begin on the media. Like the media has become some kind of like, I don't know what, has been taken over, right? By I don't know, by people who have agendas that are so far beyond rational thought that, I'm not even going to try to figure that out. But then you have the social media, that first of all, half of it is AI argue bots, algorithmic argue bots. I'm the guy who came up with that word. I just came up with it now, but you could quote me on that and use it free of copyright. Argue bots, AI argue bots, AI, algorithmic argue bots. Half the time you're arguing with algorithms, right? But then you have these YouTube millionaires and these influencers, Twitter and Instagram influencers, and of course there's Facebook, but I've abandoned that, so I don't even deal with it or talk about it anymore. I don't even think Zuckerberg really cares about Facebook anymore. He's so into his metaverse. But you've got all these people, and it's just lies and deceptions. But on social media, they're holding up these sicko traditional media type people, right? And they're showing here's what they tweeted, and then they criticize it, or here's what's in such and such reported. And then they have this whole conversation among their little gang of people or whatever. And I'm like, come on, man, just stop it. Right? Enough is enough already, it's like...
After he's stalked, we must get rid of him immediately.
I mean, it's this idea, who cares, right? I mean, it's just nuts. It's nuts. But, I think I'm right?
Brilliant!
Yeah, you got it. And if you don't like it...
Go ahead and shoot. You'll be doing me a favor.
People are such nuts. Yeah, so I'm just messing around with these sound effects, this show, after all, it's...
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
I even put a little bit of 65% cacao in this. So this totally goes. Yesterday, I also had a little bit of cheddar cheese and... Well, I had some sushi, but I don't think that's negative. But there was some other thing I had that was kind of goes against this gallbladder kind of diet that I've kind of put together. And what I'm doing is I'm testing to see if this, these various things that I've been taking, like the milk thistle and the hydrangea and the dandelion root and the chanca piedra, these various things, and eating these specific foods and things that create, well, you don't want to hear this word bile, but like rosemary, ginger, that if it's renewing and cleansing the liver and stuff like that. Because when you take these certain fats into your body, the gallbladder, a little quick lesson, don't worry, sorry if it grossing you out, it squeezes and releases this through these bile ducts into your small intestine to dissolve the fats, basically. And so a lot of vitamins and nutrients are fat soluble, and that's how particularly vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are essential. And that also affects your thyroid and, indirectly, because it's connected to your pancreas. So I just thought I would take a day or two and just be off of that, just to see if I would have any pain or, if there's any progress going, and that maybe I may or may not have, pushed a few of these things out or whatever. I don't know. Because there's so little information available, and doctors don't want to talk about that. Even pharmacists. Well, that's kind of like a homeopathic thing, so I don't know. It may help some people or something, but and the doctors are like, cut it out. You need to get in there right away. Now's the time to do it while you're not in pain. Take it out. They call it elective. When it's elective, take it out. I'm like, I don't want it out. I already had some things taken out. I've already had operations. All right. I want I want a Guinness, right? It's game over time, It's like no time to be like spending the rest of my life on a, crapper. In the WC, as they would say. Got my American flag back there and my hat, military hat. Make you wonder. My Andy Warhol. Yeah, I even got the UK. There's even a UK cap there. And, of course, the Jackery, which is my power thing, which we have on, great solar stuff. And like I say, coming up next week, don't forget, you've got free shipping March 17th through the 22nd for all of our clothing. Right? All of our clothing. So, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about today? What do you want to talk about? I don't want to talk about politics. I mean, how many times can you say it? It's like, this is it. This is insane. Right? So maybe we ought to...
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Let's talk about some weird stuff. I still have this problem. I was telling somebody on the phone yesterday, and I had mentioned it here on one of the shows yesterday or the day before, about this Chernobyl thing. And this is the last Ukrainian thing I think I'm going to say, maybe till we sign off or something. But, I never was buying into this Mandela effect. If you're a YouTuber, you know what that is. Some people don't even know what you're talking about when you say that. But it's the idea. It's like the Berenstain or the Berenstein Bears. It's like these little tiny little glitches or things as if time has been altered, but in a weird way that certain things don't, like people remember things a different way than they are. So as if we're in an not necessarily an alternative universe, but that there somehow was some kind of time, somebody messed with time, right? Something changed in time, and it had these little ripple effects around. But that people can still produce, this is the scary part. The remnants of the original stuff, somehow it's not like this was done like we're in a simulation and it was like clean. There was a cleaner came and basically erased all evidence of the past. And so this is the real part this is freaky. This is a little freaky. It's a good thing the lights are on, right? I should turn the lights down. But people have found evidence of this. Like, in other words, people who have said, well, no, I remember the name of that being such and such. But then there's like these people who have like found a thing on eBay for sale or something in an attic, and it's like, whoa, wait, that doesn't match the one that, that they're showing here. All right? Now that's the background. And I'm serious about that. And I've seen this kind of stuff. It's really spooky, right? It's like, behind me, it's hard to see, but I have the behind me is Mulder, the poster from Mulder's office on the X-Files. I want to believe. It's behind the Then What, the girl with the Then What hoodie. But anyway, so with me, I kind of was like shrugging that off, going, well, I don't know. There's got to be some logical explanation for it or whatever. I don't know, my green Hawaiian, my green shirt and my Hawaiian, kind of green Hawaiian thing. It's kind of fun. Until this Ukraine thing came up, and they said that the Russian troops had reached Chernobyl and that they were worried that there would be a problem there, and that some of the power had been turned off, but the reactors were still working, and there didn't seem to be, this, that, the other. And then I go, wait, Chernobyl is a wasteland. Chernobyl was one of the worst nuclear accidents in history. And there's still places on the internet where you could find that. And it's the same Chernobyl. It's not like there were two Chernobyls, nuclear plants, because it happened in the 80s under the Soviet Union. But the point is, this is still has been a no-go zone. It's like Fukushima, or it's like done. So I'm going, whoa, wait a second. What kind of reality are we into where they're talking about, in this reality, Chernobyl is still there was no Chernobyl accident, no meltdown, so to speak. I mean, that was a pretty bad situation there. Follow me on that one. But if you do research, you'll see that it'll tell you Chernobyl accident, blah, blah, blah. So that's like another one of those, that's like the Mandela effect might be true. It's like somebody's messing with time. So our very reality, the fabric of time, is like being altered right now. And yet but it's not like some perfect job. There's like remnants of, proof of, these other things that's still there. So it's not like an orchestrated thing, as if whoever messed with time, like, it's almost as if amateurs or some lab, or it's like what happened with these weapon research labs, these bio labs. When they say the majority of people are functionally illiterate now, and that comes right out of government, and government websites, it's no wonder. And in Ukraine, they have all these bioweapons labs there too, but they try to say, well, they're not bioweapons, they're researching pathogens. Well, what the heck do you think of But, you've got all these functionally illiterate people all over the place. The U.S., they say the majority of people who went to school in the U.S. are functionally illiterate, who graduated, from school. I mean, that should, like, shake you to the bones. These are the people. No wonder these, like, windmills and stuff are falling down. No wonder these announcers on TV are going, we need to get away from fossil fuels and switch to electricity. It's like, well, how do you make electricity without fossil fuels? Well, you use green energy. I mean, I'm tired of saying this, and I know you're tired of hearing me say it. But wait a second. A Tesla vehicle in these parts of the country is basically running on fracked gas and coal. That's what's creating the electricity, right? And, we've got this major storm, and we're into March now. Winter, it starts getting cold in November, sometime, the whole northern third, at least, of the U.S., sometimes that northern half, right? Forget about the rest of the world. All right? It starts getting cold in November, December, January, February, March. Okay, well, how are you going to generate heat? And then you have summer in the south, and these people have buildings. Like I say, skyscrapers windows don't open. You're relying on HVAC systems. You need serious power to heat and cool the 330 million people in the United States alone. And there's 8 billion people on the planet. And they're like, so, we talk about functional illiteracy. Oh, we want to switch to like green energy. Well, you can't. Well, we want to. Well, I know. Well, that's nice. I guess everybody would want to. But you can't. And you can't do it like you got out of Afghanistan. You can't just like say, okay, we're going to get in a plane and leave, and we'll leave anybody else behind. It's what they're doing, the same thing with this green energy. Oh, well, we're going to switch to green energy. We'll just let all the people in the northeast freeze to death. Millions, tens of millions of people freeze to death. And so what? You have to pay, $4, $5, $6 a gallon for gas. We'll let you suffer and starve. We'll let there be food shortages and things like that. We don't care, right? Well, you could do that. We'll let a generation of people freeze and starve to death. Do you understand? We get the people in charge right now. They're not just functionally illiterate, but the ones who aren't functionally illiterate are just downright evil people, like with some kind of agenda to just like make life, if not miserable, but to basically kill us off. That's what I was trying to say. In yesterday's show, I was saying, cats and dogs are dying far too young, like they're living half lives. But, life expectancy in the U.S. has gone down a couple of years now. How could that be in the year 2022? With so-called advanced big pharma and big ag and GMO and all this stuff. Because their focus is on war or on making a new chip for a smartphone or a computer. That's what I'm saying. It's time to retool big tech to deal with the quality of life. It's funny. They took, and I always say, don't let a good Star Trek reference go to waste. And my poor communicator here, the battery, it's so sick. Hey, Scotty, you think in the year 2022 that these tech companies would like retool, because they took the communicator. I mean, what is this? This is almost like the BlackBerry, right? The iMacs and stuff were taken right off of like Picard's desk, right? Tricorders, tablets. So they copy all this sci-fi technology, right? But they never bothered going down to Bones's, who doesn't know who Bones is from Star Trek, the original series? They never bothered going down to sick bay and taking and looking at some of the technology they were using there and apply that, right? Like big tech, because see, they don't care. Big pharma, I wouldn't doubt there might have been some big tech companies and some upstarts that maybe tried to do it, and maybe even some VCs that tried to fund some of those things. But big pharma probably stepped in and, put the kibosh on that. Or basically had them suicided or killed off. Oh, no. We got $1 trillion pharmaceutical industry here. We can't have, non-suture, we can't have bones fixing things, right? We can't have people just lay on a bed and not have to have, if you go in the hospital and they got to like put all this stuff in you, it's the most, and then they're like, make sure you get some rest. It's like you try resting when you just got to lay on your back because you can't even move because you've got like IVs in your wrist or something. Primitive stuff. It's like Bones said in one of those Star Treks. You know, in those days, they used to suture people like garments or something. It's like, well, it is those days. It's the year 2022. I say retool big tech, and they go, well, we're already doing stuff with like the Apple Watch and, you know, and stuff. We have Fitbit. It's like, yeah, so what? Like, do you know how they've had that stuff a long time ago, right? I have things. I have one right here. I have a, I've got a thing I could put on my wrist right here that'll tell me my heart rate and blood pressure, right? You know? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, people going into the hospital and being basically treated, cured, and laying in a bed and having the bed diagnose them using, modern technology. And there's somehow, like I bought a couple of boxes of cereal. Yesterday was my shopping day. I walked to the grocery store to get some my exercise. It was 27 frickin' degrees in the morning. Speaking of which, like, what's the weather like right now here?
The Weather Watch forecast.
I know you don't care about the Mid-Atlantic states unless you're in the Mid-Atlantic states. It's 32 degrees, freezing, 0 degrees Celsius, 32 Fahrenheit. But it's supposed to be a high of 55 today, which is really weird. Then it goes down to 25 and starts snowing overnight. And then Saturday, it's snow, 28. And then Saturday night, 12 degrees Fahrenheit, right? Which is like, I don't know what that is, below Celsius, below zero. But, Sunday, the same deal. It's like the high in the 30s, the lows in the 30s. And then maybe next week it gets a little bit, possibly warmer. But, they're so bad with forecasting. Anyway, I don't even know why I was looking at the weather. That's another thing they just can't seem to figure out. All right. This Ryan Hall, y'all, he's a YouTuber. You could check him out. He's kind of an animated guy. Not like in an animation, but I mean he's really like high energy guy. But he's a real meteorologist. And he's got all the equipment and all the stuff. And he goes through this stuff. And he gives you several models. It's not just like one model like mine. Like where I go like, okay, here's the NOAA model. Right? And by the way, this thing is accurate pretty much up to the last hour or two. You know what I mean? And the direction it's going in. So this is a real satellite. This is a NOAA satellite, weather satellite. And those lights are the lights of the cities, So you could see up in the Mid-Atlantic region there, you could see the big lights around D.C., Philly. You could see Pittsburgh. You can see the places in Ohio. Look how dark West Virginia is, though. See that? Not a lot of light going on down there. I guess a little bit around the college area, But look at all the lights in the extreme northeast, when you get to New York, Manhattan, Long Island, New Jersey, Philly. Well, that's a lot of electricity, speaking of which. Look at the Florida, all the lights in Florida, all along the coast, all lit up. Almost the entire east coast and west coast of Florida is lit up. And then, of course, in the middle where they've got Disney World and Universal Studios and all that stuff, Orlando way. And the point of the matter is that's like the classic example. And you go up to Boston and whatnot. But, those northern areas, all that electricity is generated by something. And down south, all that electricity is generated somehow. Right? Whether it's heat or air conditioning, HVAC systems. You know, forget about just the electric cars. It's these buildings. It's the temperature. You know, it's a little cool in here right now. You know, I got a short sleeve shirt on, though I have like a double, you know, I've got this little Hawaiian thing cut off. I usually wear in the summertime sometimes, just hanging out in the backyard or at the bar when I be a cocktail. I'm hoping I can kick this thing and get back into just being a fun-loving guy and opening my bar once a week and having a few drinks, listening to some good music. I guess the true test will be this St. Pat. I mean, I'm really, you know, I'm really being a good guy, you know, by holding off. Because I have beer in the house. And it's like, but I'm going to wait till St. Patrick's Day. I think I'm going to wait till St. Patrick's Day to have a beer. And that, you know, that'll literally be, let's see, January, February, March. It'll literally be 90 days. I will have not had a drink in 90 days. And it's just like I was saying with the food. I've been on like a health kick of like dark greens, you know, low fat, high fiber, trying to go low sugar. That's really hard because they sneak sugar in everything. And there's carbs are sugars, you know, in there. And so, you know, it comes a point where it's like really hard to do it, but I've been doing my best. And I'm trying to formulate some kind of like written, you know, well, I guess you could call it a diet, but almost a meal plan for myself. And, you know, I'm not going to share it. If I do a book, maybe I would put it in there. But like I say, I'm not a nutritionist. You know, I don't have a PhD in nutrition. I'm not a doctor, MD, or anything like that. So I'm just trying on my own because I go and I ask doctors and I ask pharmacists and I ask nutritionists, and they all have a different answer. And like I say, forget about the internet. It's total contradictory. And YouTube. Oh, you should watch this thing on YouTube, this doctor. I don't care. Yeah, but it's from the Mayo Clinic. Yeah, is that the same guy who was comparing, you know, the plague to getting the thing for the plague to like a tetanus shot? It's like guys from the Mayo. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Rusty nail versus a virus. I mean, sorry, Mayo Clinic just lied. Forget that. You know, craziness. You know, I'm telling you, you could like listen to a doctor from Johns Hopkins, respectable place, Columbia Presbyterian Hospital. I used to work at Columbia, and then somebody from Cedars-Sinai or the Cleveland Clinic. And you'll get 4 different opinions on a thing. And then you forget about WebMD or Healthline and all those. Those are just websites, man. That's something people don't understand. They're websites. And they like might have some in the corner. They like quote some doctor or quote some, you know, AMA thing or something like that. But the point is you could go to one and it'll contradict the other. And I don't care about anything. And that, you know, so the thing is, you're not going to get any advice from me, but don't take it from anybody else either, because online, because it's contradictory. I mean, I did a video about that. The internet is broken, right? It's broken. Pretty crazy. So this is like a weird coffee. It's like kind of like a little bit, you know, dark roast, not burnt, but that's what a dark roast. It's like a little bit dark roast, but it's got this coconut almond remnants left in because I put enough other coffee in it to overpower that with this 65% cacao. I wish it was 85%, but they didn't have it for sale. They had like 100% cacao, which is like bitter as anything. And then they had like 65. But it used to be 85, you know? So it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm holding back, man. I love that. It's a Friday, or tomorrow it's gonna. If it's a snow day and I'm snowed in, say we get like they're saying 5 to 8 inches in one of the forecasts, but they're like, we could end up only getting a couple inches. You don't know. That's the thing. You don't know. And the problem when you look at these things is that if that pattern, like that swath that's coming up from the south heading up, that moves up towards the northeast, if that veers a little bit, just like 30, 50 miles south, that could be the difference between someone getting a lot of snow or someone getting a lot of rain, which is like what I don't want with my luck, because it's a slow moving thing. And so if it would stall, then that would mean I'd have an all-day Saturday rain, and I'd be up in the attic with this like handheld pump pushing this button into a bucket and trying to drain water. But the thing above my bedroom, the buckets aren't filling up, and it's dry underneath, and it's mystery water. It's like loaves and fishes or whatever. I don't know. Manna from the sky. Somebody's playing a cruel joke on me. It's like the Mandela effect in my house. It's like that light broke and the door. Today I'm supposed to I had to reorder a door handle because the door handle to the back door, to the door to my porch, my back door is secure. But I have a porch and then a back door from the porch. But the door handle into that room just like decided to like freeze up, broke. So I had to order one. I ended up ordering a cheap one, too. I mean, it's sturdy enough. I mean, it's a metal thing. But, I mean, the expensive, the ones that I would have wanted to would match the house, which were like these glass ones, the faux crystal type of thing, which would have been good because I had already bought one for about $9-10. Like when I first got in the house, I had to replace a couple. And I bought like 2 of them. They were only like $9 or $10 on like Amazon. Well, I looked at this time and they're like, $28, like $30 with tax or something. I'm not paying $30 for a freaking doorknob. So I had to buy this like brushed, not even brushed brass or, Bronze Age. I got a Bronze Age door handle, right?
Really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, we're going back into the Stone Age.
Brilliant!
But man, that beer is calling me. Not now. I'm not like, coffee's fine. I'll watch this show. Feed the birds when it gets daylight and all that crap. You could see the light. If you're watching this on TV, sometimes the extremes get cut off. But if you're watching this on the internet, like, on a desktop or a, laptop, tablet, that kind of thing, if you look at the camera view up there, in the very corner you could see, because that's towards the east. My house is south facing. And so this camera is kind of facing a little bit southeast. So you can see the sky is like lighting up a little bit. You see that? It's starting to light up. It's 5:23 a.m. Let's see. When is sunrise today? Where's my mouse? Yeah, sunrise is at 6:33. So within the hour, but it's almost like coming up. There's almost like a little bit of light there because there's no big city lights here. I'm at the outskirts of town, and besides, the city here doesn't have city lights, The tallest buildings they have in the city, the center of town, so to speak, are like, I guess would be the hospital's not in town. Would be like would be a bank building, which I don't think is occupied. Most of it's not occupied. And then some kind of Section 8 welfare housing building. I think some apartment building like that. But, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So what? I showed you the picture yesterday of my street, the snow shot, which I don't, I've got rid of, I'm pretty sure, right? I replaced it with the feature image. Yeah. Make love, not war, peace, flower power, peace symbol, peace hand. Cut them out and pin them to your shirt. It's like buying my wear, Then what? You don't know what you don't know. Everything you know is wrong. Game over. Well, not game over. Game over hat. We're there. It's like, and there's other stuff, which you'll see at the end of the show. And like I say, free shipping next week, but, just get the stuff. It doesn't cost that much to ship anyway. It's like my books. I mean, Then What only cost $9.95 for the physical copy of the book, which is that way. I don't know. You can't. Don't even try to explain how these screens work. The image that I'm looking at. But here I am. Here we are.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
So the world's is turned upside down. People are like all obsessed, and the media is making, the war-profiteers, which include the media, are making all this money on war. And meanwhile, at home, like I said, 2,000 people a week are being murdered. 40,000 a week are dying unnecessarily of diseases that are treatable or curable even, definitely, preventable, through diet and stuff. But we have big ag, big tech, and big pharma, big med, really. They don't care, Like I said, they're not going to switch over. They'll take the things from Star Trek that they could make billions from, like the smartphone idea or the desktop, and create new chips. But they won't apply those chips to like medical equipment. Oh, we could check your heart rate and blood sugar and different things like that. I don't care about that. Those things are important, but like I showed you before, I already have a device that'll check my blood pressure and heart rate and things like that. Okay? And I know you can get an Apple Watch and it does, that stuff. And you could, you could also just put your hand here and count and, and check your heart rate. Some people do like could do this kind of thing and stuff. You kind of know if you're having palpitations. No, what I want to do is I want to see the Apple M1 or MX Ultra chip put to use in like some kind of hospital equipment like the sick bay in Star Trek, or in some kind of thing that you could like put over a person and, without being invasive, figuring out different ways of improving like sonograms or stuff like that, so you don't have to X-ray and CT scan or even MRI everybody, but using technology to figure ways of improving certain things that won't harm the body, and like 8 years from now the person develops cancer or some kind of tumor or something. Or curing these things. Yeah, it's just nuts, man. It's just really nuts. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem like they, we pay taxes, people work themselves to the bones, and now they're like, oh, pay high price gases for freedom. It's not freedom. Freedom for who? Basically, over 1 million, maybe 2 million people already like fled Ukraine. Poland's taken in over 1 million people. They've already come to peace terms are out there, but nobody wants to step up and basically be the mediator and say, okay, we'll do it. The UN never sent peacekeeping forces and vehicles into Ukraine, but Ukraine's a part of the, of the UN, and they had a vote at the UN. But why didn't they send peacekeeping forces there? Do you think Russia is going to fire on peacekeeping forces? No, they're not. Those white trucks with the, and these guys, they have a whole army, these white soldiers, white hats, whatever. I guess the color white, might trigger somebody. Oh no, they're white. Well, paint the tank a different color. Paint them purple. Triggered. All I see is a bunch of crazy people, functionally illiterate people who are triggered by statues and words, and who are watching and watching TV. Hey, it's war on TV. Hey, Martha, come on in. We could watch the war live on TV. They're covering it live on this cable channel. Go get those Ruskies. Come on. Just, give peace a chance, man. What's the problem with people? I'm like the only guy who's the balls to put something like this up. It's like I said, make love, not war. It's like one of my other videos where I said love is, today love is a 4-letter word, as in like, a 4-letter word that, people don't want to talk about. I don't know. I don't know. I can't figure it out. It's really puzzling. It's mind-boggling. Yes, I'm pouring coffee. That's what I do. I'm pouring coffee, drinking coffee, doing all these things. Today we get to see almost in real life color what it looks like. 5:31 a.m. Eastern Time. Friday. It's,
weekend.
It's the weekend. Yeah, it's great, I was trying to find, some other things, and I guess I have hidden them or filed them away for till next year. Like some of my, of course, I do have my, some of my classic Irish stuff, that we got into last year. As long as you play less than 6 seconds, you could. It would be fun. I may do it just for the, for the heck of it. Not today, but I mean, I may get back into that thing. I don't care. If I want to, I got screwed over by locals. I was starting to say that earlier. And they somehow took I was on there for a while, but then I just quit because it was useless. And they sent me this email back, well, my email's closed, saying, oh, you must have ordered through Apple or whatever. I was saying this before. Well, the point is I didn't, and I went there, and there's no way I could get off. So it's like, what is going on, man? But anyway, Rumble bought locals. And Rumbles, for $10 a month, you can have limited broadcast, live web broadcasting. And so I was thinking of doing that, but they keep this thing up, which they've had up for months now, saying that soon we'll be allowing everyone to broadcast live. But right now it's pay to play. But after this like weird thing with locals, I'm kind of pissed off. And I don't know how to get my money from them. But I would rather have paid like the basic fee to Rumble and be able to broadcast live there and do a live St. Patrick's Day show, because I don't think those guys have figured out this whole thing about the music thing, right? Right? Or maybe they're paying the royalties or something. I mean, the whole thing is weird. Some weird buzzing noise somewhere. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know. Yeah, it's really ridiculous. But this is a classic example here, and I'll put the bigger version there. This is a page from my book. And so this is why I say you want to buy my books in print, because I always have things in them, So there's like stuff, and they don't convert well, and I always, and like that book particularly, there was a lot of cutouts in it. Let me see. I mean, this is the handbook, where this came out of. Now, again, I mean, I don't advise necessarily buying this because, excuse me, though this was the one I read that article about war, like the glamorization of war and how the U.S. is, let me get rid of this thing here, wherever the hell it is. That we've been at war, from the very beginning. And of course this was like, I've got these big things like that. It's just more effective. But I also have these things in here, and I'm just showing you this stuff. And this is just the way I used to do it. I would always have these pulled quotes, but they'd be giant pulled quotes that you could even like just make a copy of. Like this one. Forget everything you hear on the nightly news and about the stock market going up or down, and just look at the reality on the streets. And then there was this classic image here. I don't know if you can grasp that one. But there's something about, and I put a copy of the First Amendment in here. Which you could just make a copy of or tear the page out after you read the book or something, And it's the kind of thing you can't do on a Kindle, on the Fourth Amendment. It's funny how the First and Fourth Amendment have been completely violated. I have the entire Bill of Rights and the Constitution in this. So this, I guess, was an anti-war book. The single largest preoccupation of the 21st century is war. And it's true, right? We've been at war since, Middle Eastern wars. Here's another one. The true enemies of the people are the people who polarize us and profit on it. And the funniest thing about it is, and I had this, like these cutout type of things. You see the scissors up there at the top? Divest, And of course the Gandhi line. which a lot of people maybe should think about over in Ukraine right now. An eye for an eye will only make the whole world blind. So, this book would have been considered at the time, and even the Lenin line, war is over if you want it. And then last but not least, I think it was somewhere towards the back, another one of these cutouts with the scissors. By my hand, there's the scissors. Too many secrets. Everything's national security. But this book in and upon itself at the time would have been considered like kind of left-leaning. You see? Because that's where my head was. This was in 2015. So we're talking like 7 years ago. And so the left somehow became the right? Because the warmonger, look what's going on now. And so, like I say, everything's backwards and upside down and just warped. But I mean, there are no really left, right, and it's team blue, team red, and Save America, Build Back Better. They changed that now. I forget what they changed that to, and the Great Reset. I mean, they're all the same sides of a counterfeit coin. And like I say, how many sides are there to a coin? And your first point is that, there's two sides, right? The front, it's like a Kennedy half, right? Remember JFK? Yeah, he was murdered by the CIA. So was his brother. All right? So you got the back of the side of the coin, all right? The seal of the United States. JFK, but you have this. That's another side. That's the actual side of the coin, right? Because this is the front, this is the back, and this is the side. So when you take the phrase Save America, Build Back Better, and the Great Reset, they're three sides of a counterfeit coin. And now they want to create this crypto stuff. They want to get rid of all the coins and all that stuff altogether, which is ridiculous. So I'm glad I have a garden, man. I'm glad I'm growing stuff. You should go to my Instagram page. I think I'll have to do that by opening up another browser. I'll show you. Instagram. I have to get there first, and then I'll do the display capture. I don't know who those people are. People show up on my site. I don't know why. But anyway, this is my garden. I don't know if you've seen this. This is what it looks like. I think those are the gallstones. This is me using this program, though, so I don't know. This is supposedly the liver, I think. But then again, this could be the gallbladder, and I don't know what the heck that is. You know what I mean? I don't really know. It's hard to say. And there's my cat, who wasn't doing too well, but, I grow him cat. This is. I use my Instagram account primarily, basically, just to show my growing things, whether it's inside or my garden. That's catnip I grow on my back porch that I had to get a door handle to. This is, I know, it's show and tell,
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Look at the size of those cilantro leaves. They're grown in a closet in my back porch, and it's a small room. Now, these don't look the great. They look a little sickly, but that's all these leaves here. This is all kale. And, you don't need many, I pull some kale. I pulled the kale leaves off there. Here, this is Swiss chard that I'm growing which is ridiculous. I was hoping that I want to keep this alive and then I want to transplant this outside. And these things are rather leggy, but these are radishes. And since this picture, I've moved down the light closer. But I'm sure I'll get a dozen radishes out of there. Back here, this was oregano that was growing before, but I don't know. I didn't like deal with it. But here's an example of an onion I'm growing indoors. Look at that. And let's see if you look really closely. I'm not sure if it'll show in this picture. You see this off to over here. Yeah, you could see my pointer. This is actually garlic. I'm growing garlic here. And over here, I think I have 2 big, long garlic things. And I'll be putting those out. But that's what I usually use my thing for. Stuff I eat. Look at my healthy salads. You know, greens, ginger, garlic, red bell peppers, dark greens, olive oil, turmeric, apple cider vinegar. This was me making homemade hummus with like minced garlic, red bell pepper, and kale from that garden. You know, this is an overview of when I was first starting that thing in the back in my porch. Here's another example of a healthy salad with broccoli, right? Raw, unfiltered honey. You could see some chopped garlic on, to the far upper right, left of that. And the temperature in that room sometimes goes down to like almost freezing, but, the stuff survives, But yeah, here's where my head's at. Let's see, what's the date on this? This is December 23rd. Okay, so it hasn't been exactly 90 days, but almost 3 months. This was like the last time I drank. Like right before, Christmas, right? Yeah. And there's my cat who's like lost some weight, but he's an older cat now. And that was around Christmas and the old set. You can see this is the room. This thing on top of here is a box fan with a filter on it, which I got a filter that filters out viruses and bacteria. And I taped it to the back of a box fan, and I used that up in my bedroom to like clean the air. And it works. Yeah, and this is what I have up in my bedroom. You see that plastic? This is the Rube Goldberg device. So when it leaks, it comes down through here and then falls down into a bucket. It's a classic. That's when I first planted these things. That first batch didn't do too well. This was from my garden out back. It was my last harvest. Look at that. And of course, I got a lot of peppers. I just figured I'd show you this. This is the plenty of my backyard. This is from ground level to give you an idea. Look how grown in everything was. It was almost like a tunnel, you see? Because this path leads to my house, And you could see I still had a bunch of tomatoes and different stuff, but how overgrown everything was. And this was the fall. That was October 12th. But still, there was a lot of green. But, I was getting all this stuff, and this is the kind of stuff I was eating, my own tomatoes and lettuce on a wrap, as late as October. So, it's crazy, Carrots. So you could do this stuff. People just don't understand it. Here's another really crazy one. Look, see, because you can see my house here, the Dutch colonial, the doctor's office over in the right, and how I had to build this thing up and this tree to hide this neighbor who's like nosy. And even though this is real blurry, you get a feel for, just how much growth. Anyway. And, talk about plenty. Look at that. It's all grown up out of my backyard. Craziness. Having a little bit of fun with the zucchini. So, yeah, that's and that's the way it is, or was, I should say. That's what it looked like 2 years ago. So I don't know, man. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. And there's so many more things to do in life than sit around and watch TV and worry about, all this crazy stuff, Make love, not war. Grow things. Sit out in the sun, get some vitamin D, spring starts in another, what is it? 9 days till the first day of spring. I mean, it's still going to be cold, I guess. But I mean, within the next 30 days, I'm going to start planning my cold weather things. Because I have these glass windows. I broke one last year. I had these storm windows that I could fit over some of my square raised beds that were the size of like a storm window. And so I would put things like lettuce and radish and beets and stuff like that, kale, starts under those in soil. And when the weather would be nice, because you get these weird days where it's nice and sunny, so, but I'd keep the glass over it so it'd be like a little mini greenhouse, heats up the soil and keeps it. And if there was a frost, and in the daytime, if it was warm, I would open it up and, and let the sun get in there. But if at night it was going to go down to frost, I would just put the glass, right on there and seal it. And sometimes it would, even you'd get like a little snow, dusting of snow, and it'd be on the glass. The next day, I'd just brush off the snow. Sun would come out. And that's how I do it. And it's fun. But, you got to take care of your health. And I think this country has got its priorities all backwards. And what's the matter with you people out there with all this jingoism and war on TV and sending money to people? The government just is sending them $13.6 billion. So why waste your money? It's just going to go in the hand of criminals. I'm telling you, you don't understand how this shit works. You should be writing your Congress people, writing the president, leaving calls on their answering machine, because that's how it works, and saying, let's end this war, intermediate, put some pressure on NATO and the EU to intervene, not send over MiG fighters and missiles and allow the war profiteers and the military contractors to rake in billions of dollars. And then sending over billions of dollars in so-called aid that's going to somehow, billions of it are going to disappear. It's like when they sent to Iran that time. They sent in cash, right, pallets of cash. Excuse me, that like ended up funding terrorists.
Really funny.
I'm not laughing at that part. I was laughing at the belch.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So,
This is insane.
it never fails. It never fails, that this stuff just blows my mind. Am I the only one that sees this? I don't know. It's really crazy. It's the holiday season. That's what I was looking for. And I couldn't find it. And it's, it's the Andy Williams, song. And I'm trying to see what I've got. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Andy Williams. See, I know I've cut these things down, but I can't seem to find it. What happened to that? Let me look here. And wrong computer. Let's see. It's a wonderful time of the year. Street life. Who knows where the time goes? Canyon, Moon River. No. No, forget it. I don't know what happened to it. So here we are, 5:55 a.m. Eastern Time, Friday, the weekend, snowy weekend for most people in the eastern part of the United States, or stormy at least, probably rainy for a lot of people, hopefully not for me. People sitting around watching, flipping between the Weather Channel and the cable channels showing war on TV. And people pulling out their credit card or whatever and giving money when the government, your taxes already just went to send $13.6 billion. And instead of giving that money to rebuild after the fact, when they've already come to terms individually, it's just a matter of sitting them down at a table and just doing it and just ending the thing. They're letting this thing ride because my chair's uncomfortable. Because they're war profiteering on it. The media's making money. The politicians are using it because they think it's election year, and they could get political mileage out of this. And military contractors obviously are making billions and hundreds of billions of dollars. They make hundreds of billions of dollars on this stuff. And, big tech's in on that, right? And, of course, social media platforms are making money on this. So it's one big war profiteer, and you got a bunch of armchair generals, sitting there watching this. And so the media is making money because their viewership is up and people are watching the commercials. Yeah. I mean, are you out of your frickin' minds? I mean, really, are you out of your frickin' minds? Give peace a chance. Get with it, Get with it. That's what I'm trying to say. This generation now, the people in charge are so far removed from the late 60s, 70s, and most importantly, even the post-Vietnam War. But I mean, even the 70s, when all this stuff was coming to a head, when the civil rights movement was finally succeeded. Feminist movement succeeded. The Vietnam War was finally ended. Nixon was giving the peace symbol on, on the chopper as he left the White House. Though he did stop the war out of extreme pressure. People forget that, Nixon did end the Vietnam War finally. It was Nixon. But, yeah, man. You're on the wrong side. That's like I say, the people who are the so-called what used to be progressives, liberals, those kind of people used to be they were the people make love, not war. That's like that Neil Young thing and stuff. It's like what Crosby, Stills, and Nash, you know, like in solidarity with him, you know, when the guy's really just trying to sell it, you know, sold off his royalties to, you know, and then is trying to get people to go to his website instead of Spotify so he can make a buck. But I mean, guys like that, they were all peace, make love, no war, flower power, you know, the peace symbol and stuff. It's like I say, love's become a 4-letter word, and like, you know, peace is like, forget about that. Nobody's saying that. You know, people are out of their frickin' minds. They've lost touch with reality. Armchair generals. Patriotism, you know, is basically peace and taking care of our own people and our own security. I mean, if you were a real patriot, they just let 2 million people come into the U.S. over the borders and flew them to all these cities and didn't even test them for any diseases and stuff like that, and are giving them free housing. I mean, where's the uproar on that? Things are like weird. And the crime rates are up, and price of gas is up, inflations are up, the stock market's on the verge of collapse. They're just holding it together till after the election. I mean, come on, face the facts. You do know that, right? You do know that. I say flower power. You know? Flower power. But yeah, people, you know, free shipping March 17th. But that's the kind of stuff I get in my books. I mean, even this book here, where it is, the latest and the greatest. Then what? I mean, this thing is chock full of photos, you know, and graphics and things you could use. Of course, you can't see any when I do it. You see? I mean, I even have that thing from the World Economic Forum here. Let's see if you can see it. You'll own nothing and be happy. People don't even know that that's like a real thing. They like don't even know that. You know, this idea that I was putting on the show for a long time. This is where people's heads are. They've got everybody like scared out of their wits. This is a funny one. It's another version of me without the glasses. Cappy Dick. The Outer Limits. See, none of this stuff translates, you know, well. And of course, the holiday horror story, which I read. And the monthly budget, which I think everyone needs. And, you know, and this kind of stuff you really need to get your acts together with right now, especially. Because when you have inflation, you better start thinking. I don't know. My books are very helpful. You know, it's like it says here. This is the final tome of a 10-book volume that explores the mind and biography of one of the most influential yet under-the-radar, truly legendary pop cultural figures you never heard of. Me. Then what? Flow of consciousness. Ooh. But don't forget about Codex back here. It's kind of quiet today. There haven't been a lot of coal trucks. And I don't know why. I mean, I wonder if they like are doing some solidarity with that, like, you know, truck movement or something. We should have been seeing a lot of coal trucks go by. I mean, have you been noticing them? I haven't heard them. Everything seems quiet. You know? I I mean, the storm hasn't started yet or anything that I know of. No, it's just cloudy and in the 30s. The sun rises very shortly. Yeah, it's weird. It's like there's an unnatural silence out there. I mean, I see a little light kind of flashing, which is kind of weird. See that? Here it comes. Anyway, that's that. So, I think today, I hope I made my point. Every show's not profound, but there's enough things here for you to realize that, this is what it's all about. And you got to have the nerve to do this. And like I say, take the, go back or right now, make enlarge this on your screen, your desktop or whatever, your tablet, make a screen capture or on your smartphone, you make a screen capture and email it to yourself and print it out and cut these things out. And if you got an old button maker laying around, that's what I originally designed the size for, to fit in one of those button maker things. But otherwise, just pin it. Take it to work with you today. Right? Watch out for the weather. Make love, not war. Anyway, so good morning. I think that's enough for the day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, go to rockflux.com. There's links to all my stuff there. It's not a website of information so much as just a website of links. Links to my books, which I recommend you get in print. Links to my store where you can get hoodies, shirts, hats, decals, right? Aprons. I mean, all kinds of weird stuff that have these great, sayings on them. I even have like my Irish shirt, I think there, which you should buy right now. You probably get it rush delivery for St. Paddy's Day. Great solar stuff isn't just about solar. There's power backup and other stuff there. Check it out. I'm not monetized on YouTube. And while these books and these things I do, they're just third-party stores. I mean, I'm lucky if I get 50 cents or something like that, commission or something. So, but it still supports the website or the podcast, whatever you want to call it, the vlog, the show. And it gives me an idea that you actually give a crap. Anyway, take care. If you're in the path of this storm, hopefully you're prepared and you're not going to have a power failure or anything like that. So take care. Talk to you tomorrow.